When I was 12 years old, I had the unique opportunity to travel to Thailand, known for being the land of smiles, with my family and some of our family friends. And the reason we were going to be traveling was because my dad's friend was going to have a destination wedding in Thailand in a nice beach town. So that was a really fun wedding to go to. But because we were in Thailand, there was already so much we wanted to explore. And especially for me, I'd never been outside of North America. So I was really excited to explore a new culture and what Thailand had to offer. So one of the cities we went to during our trip was Bangkok, and Bangkok is the capital city of Thailand. It's very beautiful and it's bustling and there's a lot going on, and there was a lot we wanted to sightsee and explore. So one primary thing we really wanted to see was the biggest Buddhist temple in Thailand, which is located in Bangkok. So on one of our first travel days, the group of 8, so my family and another family that we're really close to, we were ready to go visit the temple. So we were a couple blocks away from the temple when this kind man approached my dad and he kind of asked us what our plans were for the day and where we were from. So we said we were from Canada and that we were planning to go to this temple. But he said that unfortunately we wouldn't be able to go because the King of Thailand was visiting because it was a national holiday and tourists were not allowed to enter the temple during this time. So we were like, oh, we weren't aware of this information. What else should we do since he's a local? So he said that there's many other temples in Bangkok that are interesting to look at and that he could get a couple tuk-tuk drivers to come and take us on a little tour of these temples. So we were like, oh, that'd be great. So within 10 to 15 seconds, these tuk-tuk drivers appear suddenly and they're ready to take us on a tour. So we get in these tuk-tuks, and tuk-tuks are essentially like small taxis with no doors. So it was a very scenic ride to the first temple, but when we got there, to our surprise, the temple was very underwhelming. There wasn't a lot to look at, and it was very small and there weren't many people visiting. So because of this, we only stayed for like 5 minutes, and we left and we got back into the tuk-tuks. And the tuk-tuk drivers took us to the second temple, and much like the first one, there wasn't a lot going on, very small and not many people there. But there was this one man who was Thai and he spoke fluent English. So he kind of had a bit of a conversation with us and introduced himself and asked us where we were from. So we said we were from Canada and that we were just visiting. And he said that he actually was an international student in Canada and he went to the University of Alberta. So we're like, oh, that's interesting. And he told us a bit about how he really loved and enjoyed Canada, but like his tuition was very expensive. So he kind of got into how he financed his education. So he said that when he would be on his summer breaks from school, he would come back to his home in Thailand. And because he is a resident of Thailand, he was able to buy jewelry without tax. So he would come to these jewelry stores in Bangkok and he would buy jewelry for say like $500, and he would come and sell it to jewelry shops in BC and Alberta for double or triple the price, like $2,000. And he said that by doing this, he was able to finance his whole education. So we were like, oh, that's interesting. But then he said that for these few days, like the 3 days we were visiting, that this was also available for tourists because it was the holiday and the King of Thailand was visiting. So that there would be no taxes if we purchased the jewelry as well, and that we should really look into it. So we were like, okay, that's interesting, good to know. And then we kind of just said our goodbyes and left. So we were gonna get into the tuk-tuk to go to our third temple, which would be the final temple, and we get to finally go home and back to where we started, because we were pretty tired. Thailand's really hot. But we got into the tuk-tuks, and unlike we thought, the tuk-tuk drivers told us a bit way through the drive that we weren't going to be going to the third temple. We're actually going to be going to a jewelry store. So that kind of sparked a bit of a few alarm bells in us, because we didn't really understand why they would be doing that. So my dad got out his phone and searched Thailand jewelry scam just to like research like what was happening, and he found like this list of like 10 points of how the scam worked. It's a legit scam, and like everything that had happened to us so far was part of it. So like we met someone and they told us the temple was closed, then these tuk-tuk drivers would come really fast. They'd take us to a temple where we'd meet someone who would say they were an international student, and they would tell us about the jewelry and that we could buy it. Then we'd get into the tuk-tuk again, and they were about to take us to the jewelry store. So it's like, oh, we're on like step 4 of this scam. So that was a bit shocking. So my dad had to like tell us all like what was actually going on, and that was good. We at least realized it was a scam, and we kind of went into that temple, the jewelry store, with the mindset that like, we're not going to buy anything, we're just going to be in and out. So we got to the jewelry store, and it was very opulent, big, a very beautiful jewelry store, but there were not any like people who were actually going to buy jewelry. There were just a lot of employees, and you could tell that they were waiting for us. They greeted us with like mango smoothies and like towels, but they were also very persistent, like grabbing us by the arms, showing us the jewelry, telling us what to buy, and being very persistent. They would not take no for an answer. So we were really trying to leave. We tried to leave a couple of times, but they would literally pull us back, and they're like, no, look at this, you have to buy this. It's a good deal, you have to buy this, you'll make a lot of money. So we're just kind of like trying to get out of there. So the only way we could get out of there was when my dad's friend bought a keychain, and then we were able to leave. But once we left and we got back to the tuk-tuks and they dropped us back off to where we started, we were like, whoa, that just happened. And through that experience, all of us were able to realize that like, just because we're on a vacation and we're in the land of smiles, it doesn't mean that we can turn our brains off and just trust everyone blindly. There are bad people everywhere, there's scammers everywhere, and we actually always have to be aware of what's going on. And that kind of made us more cautious after that experience when we went on vacations. We were always more aware, and prior to going on vacations, we would like research scams, so we would actually be more aware of our surroundings. So that was really, although it was a bit of a stressful experience, it was a good experience because it taught us to be cautious, and it has really improved our travels and helped us be safer when we travel. So it taught us a lot.